Guys, I figured I would make a video showing you guys everything that I use to make my ball jointed dolls, just to kind of help you out if you're kind of stuck. Also, I didn't really have anything else to do today and it felt like a good video to make, so let's go. So the first thing that I think you would need is a nice place to sculpt. That way it is unbothered, somewhere you can lay pieces to dry if you're using air dry clay, somewhere where pets won't bother it very often. I have this TV table that I use right next to our living space, and our cat doesn't get on it, the dog doesn't mess with it, and it is a nice space dedicated just for my doll sculpting. Alongside somewhere nice and safe to sculpt, the other most important thing that you're gonna need is something to actually sculpt with, some kind of clay. This is the clay that I use. I get it from Walmart and it's about $7-8 for 2 pounds. And once you open this, you do need to store it in some kind of airtight container so it does not dry out. And I just use a gallon baggie. It's not the prettiest in the world, but it keeps it from drying out. I'd also just use a little bit of water if it starts to stiffen up, but this keeps it nice and soft. Let me preface the rest of this video by saying that my experience is going to be based off of using this air dry clay. So if you use another kind of clay, the results can vary, but this is my experience and just how I go about things. So you have your safe space and you have your clay. Next, I would recommend getting something with a ledge to keep your pieces in, just so they don't get knocked off the table, which is where a pan like this. I got this from the Dollar Tree a couple years ago and it has done wonders. It's just a little tray that has a ledge, and even if, like, let's say that I need to clear this table quickly because I need it for something, I can put I can have all the pieces here. I don't have to worry about dropping or losing anything, because here, if I tripped and fell, or if the cat got adventurous and wanted to come on this table and he started batting around my pieces, they could fall off the table, which I'm usually good with my cat not getting on this table, but this is a added measure of safety. Usually just have it sitting on the side of the table like this, and then I have it lined with some paper towels just to kind of give it a little bit of traction so the pieces aren't sliding around as much. I also have the paper towels there because I have had my sculpting water spilled and it got all over her, and it sat overnight and she just turned into a big clump of mush again because I'm using an air dry clay. So that kind of helps absorb any moisture that might be left behind and keep her even more safe. Now I have her sitting in the tray just like this. Again, it gives a nice little ledge to where her pieces don't go rolling around. And if they do, they've got a little bit of buffer space to where they won't fall off. The next thing that I like to have is a notepad and something to write with, just kind of somewhere close to me. It doesn't have to be on this table, but it will be here to kind of keep track of what I'm working on. These are all of my goals that I have for right now. Once I finish this list, I'll look over her, see what needs to be done, and make a new list. But I have it color-coded by what section of the body I'm working on, and I'm not necessarily working in order, but it's really great to see, like, my brainstorming process on what needs to be done and whether or not I've done it. Moving on to actually sculpting my doll, what I use the most are these tools. First and foremost, I use water. It really helps give her to keep her smooth. It helps the clay stay nice and squishy, and overall, I have not sanded her chest piece yet, and it looks pretty smooth because I take like just my finger, dip it in the water, and then I would rub it and make it smooth, and that just works for me. I also use these tools, pencils, brushes, an X-Acto knife. These are nail tools. This one And this one I use for shaping things that I just quite can't get my fingernail in there. Brushes to help smooth things out and to help with curves and stuff. Pencils to mark things. Like if I want to whittle something down, I can mark to where it needs to be whittled down. And I feel like I'm forgetting something. I also use the paintbrushes to help with make joints and body parts hollow. So for example, this is a bad example, but this piece, I made a vague shape out of clay of the thigh piece, and then I took my paintbrush and crammed it through, and then I sculpted the rest of the thigh joint into shape, and then I took it off and boom, thigh joint, or boom, arm joint. And then once it hardens, you can like actually do detail sculpting. The better example would be like the arm. See, I had a paintbrush shoved through there and it worked, and I don't have to worry about drilling, and I don't have to worry about trying to get it clean and emptied out later. I did not leave the paintbrush in there for it to harden. I shoved the paintbrush through, I wiggled it around until I got my nice little cylinder shape, and then I propped it up like that to dry. That way the hole would stay open, and then I just went on from there. We are at the sitting level now, so this is my view that I see when I start sculpting. Another handy thing is a really good light source. That way you aren't fighting and squinting your eyes to see in dimly lit spaces. I got this lamp from Walmart several years ago, and it has little pockets that I can put stuff in, as well as a plug-in that I can use like to charge my phone, or like to plug in a Dremel, which I have not had to use the Dremel very much on this project. I'm thankful for that. I also keep around elastic for test stringing. This is not the elastic that I'll be using when she's done, but this is great for just putting her together really quickly to see how she's holding up and to see how it's looking. I also use popsicle sticks to kind of catch the elastic because I don't have any kind of S-hooks at the moment. Sometimes you really just got to use what you got and make it work. Once I've worked on a piece for a long time and it gets very white and gray patchy, I use this Krylon Automotive 2-in-1 filler and sandable primer. It says it takes 30 minutes to dry, but honestly I give it an hour before it's completely dry. It's a little tacky still at 30 minutes, but it works great. Once I spray it with primer, see what I want to adjust, and then I adjust it, and then I'll spray this with primer again and adjust shapes again at that point. When I'm not able to get things smooth with water, I turn to sandpaper. I just got all this from Walmart again. I have 60, 100, and 220. So far I've only used the 220 because I'm not sanding for refinement right now. I'm mostly sanding to take pieces off and whittle down, but once I get to the point where she needs refining, she will go to the lowest grades. I'll work my way down. Another thing that I like to have handy is a wig and eyes. These are eyes I actually just whipped together out of clay and pressing them into her existing eye sockets. Having a wig and eyes around that you don't necessarily mind getting wet clay on, or primer, or clay dust from sanding, is a great way to kind of check and make sure that your proportions are good, or at least, like, when I say good, I mean like how you want them to be. For example, with a wig, I think that I need to work on her mouth a little bit potentially. I need to accentuate this eye's eye bag just slightly compared to this one. And the eyes are also a great way just to kind of bring her to life a little bit and see what she needs working on. I need to work on her ears. I think I need a little clay on her forehead. Overall, it just really helps to kind of see where you're at, even if like it is like the most basic wig and eyes that you can find. This wig was the very first wig that I ever made for a doll, and it's very not good, but it's a way to see where I'm at and lets me see what I need to work on. I will be buying like standard type eyes for her in the future to kind of work around. This is more or less just to give her a little bit of life and expression, because I'm sure at this point she would not be able to fit normal eyes with those eye wells. They would have to always be custom made eyes, which is why I'm going to be buying some standard eyes to kind of make that eye well work. So when I sit down to start working on Dandlion, this is generally what I see. I had to have a paper towels down to catch any moisture from the water and clay dust from sanding. And I have all of her pieces farther away from me so I don't knock anything unnecessarily off the table. I'll take what piece I'm working on, place it here, I'll work away, and when I'm done with that piece, I put it back, clean my area, and start the next piece depending on what I'm working on. If I'm sanding, I'll just leave the same paper towels down until I'm done sanding, and then when I start to sculpt again, I'll start over and with a new spread. But I hope that this video has helped you. If there's anything that I've forgotten to show, I will post it in the comments down below this video. Otherwise, I hope that this video helped you out, and I'm sorry if it wasn't super informative, but I did just feel like showing off what it looks like when I sculpt and what I use when I'm sculpting to kind of give you an idea of how she's coming together and what I'm working with. Everyone does it differently. There are so many different ways that it's impossible to just narrow it down to one way. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter really what kind of setup that you have or what kind of materials that you have. Anyone can sculpt a doll. It doesn't matter the following, it doesn't matter the likes. Just at the end of the day, go for you. Go sculpt what you want to sculpt. And when you like it, the people who do like your kind of work, well, they'll find you. And that's how you'll make some great friends in this hobby. And another thing is that I actually do not have a blueprint for Dandlion. She is a completely free sculpting project where it started off as I was just sculpting a torso to kind of show myself a little bit of self-love, because her torso is a reflection of my own, and I loved it so much that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep rolling and see how far it takes me. And she is now a full doll, kinks and all, and I hope to refine her to the point that maybe one day she'll have a pre-order. But in the meantime, I hope that you just enjoy watching me make her over on Instagram, and I'll see you guys another time. Bye.